Hey, friends. Welcome to the Raising Boys and Girls podcast. I'm Sissy Goff.
And I'm David Thomas, and we're so glad you've joined us for this conversation. Let's dive in.
Kristen Jenson is the founder of Defend Young Minds and the #1 best-selling author of Good Pictures, Bad Pictures and Good Pictures, Bad Pictures Jr., which we recommend all the time and have over 375,000 copies sold worldwide. Both are read-aloud books to teach young children how to reject pornography and are now augmented by a guidebook for counseling kids, which supports child therapists and educators. Her trusted resources and content, including the Brain Defense Digital Safety Curriculum, have helped millions all over the world to defend children from all forms of sexual exploitation. We are thrilled to have this conversation with Kristen. Cannot recommend her work highly enough. And you all make sure and hang on till the very end because she has so many good nuggets interspersed throughout. Kristen, as we were talking about before we even started recording, we just are so grateful for your work. Refer to it constantly with families. I have 7 and 3-year-old nephews and cannot wait to read them with them. I mean, we're just so grateful you're doing this because it is something that we're talking about more and more in our counseling offices. Yes. And so we want to jump right in, and we would love for you to start by talking about why you wrote books for kids, in particular about pornography, and what are the basic goals you would say of those books?
Well, Sissy, I can assure you that this was not a life goal to write a book about pornography.
Yes.
For kids. But I met a woman who had a large family. She was homeschooling them, trying to protect them from all the evil out there. But the evil came in through the internet. And her 17-year-old son, they found out he was sexually molesting his younger brothers and sisters, from the 14-year-old to the 4-year-old. And this had tragic consequences for their family.
Yes.
I woke up the next morning and I just couldn't get the thought out of my mind, like, how do we warn these young children? Because I could see the devastating effect that pornography had had on this family. And if it happened in my town, I mean, I could only imagine that it was happening all over the place. And up until that point, I knew that pornography was a problem for adults and for marriages. I had learned that. I had a friend who was a psychologist, but I didn't realize how children were being impacted. So that was the beginning of looking for resources that could help children understand the dangers of pornography. But I couldn't find any. So
Right.
I'm just one of these people that I jump in and then figure out if I can swim. It's a curse and a blessing.
Yes.
But I jumped in and I did some research and found some other people's, like videos on YouTube and also articles and books and such. And I just had this idea in my head that I could write a children's book that would explain, especially how it can affect your brain. That addiction piece and that part about, how it changes you and the way you view people. So that's how Good Pictures, Bad Pictures, Porn Proofing Today's Young Kids was born. It took 3 years. And then parents started asking me for a book for younger children. And it's funny because I have 3 grandsons now, ages 8, 6, and 1.5. And so I was just reading the junior book yesterday to my 6-year-old, very busy 6-year-old, but he loved the hidden cameras. Anyway, that's how I got started.
Wow.
Kind of crazy.
We're grateful that you're a person who jumps in and then
Yes.
figures out how to swim. So many families have benefited from that being true about you. And thinking about its impact on children, we love to just ask, what would you say is the best age to begin to talk to a child about pornography?
Well, it's not a particular age. And that's a great question because so many parents, wonder the same thing. They want to wait till the kid's 14. That's not going to work.
Right.
I think it's more when that child has any access to the internet, any at all, whether it's through any kind of screen, whether they go to a friend's house and the friend has an iPad, whatever, they need to be prepared so they know exactly what to do when they're faced with this rather shocking situation. And so that's what I say, just as soon as your child is on a screen at all or has any access. And I started reading, and my daughter also started reading Good Pictures, Bad Pictures Junior to our grandchildren at age 2. They like to look for the cameras. It just normalized the conversation. So it's not a big deal anymore. It really isn't. And we're hoping that will help them to come to their parents when they're faced, not if, but when. And it really makes me angry because these boys are just so sweet. They're busy, but they're sweet. And I don't want them to see any of this.
Yes.
But I also don't want them to be unprepared.
Yes.
Right. Yes.
Thank you.
Well, a lot of parents that we talk with worry that introducing the topic will backfire and only increase curiosity. We would love to know what you would say to those parents that might have those fears.
Well, I would say I totally understand. I get it. And I would say, especially moms, we're always feeling guilty about this and that and the other. But you have, two choices. One, you can just kind of cross your fingers and hope that your child doesn't see pornography until, 2 weeks after you started this conversation. But none of us have a crystal ball. And it's amazing how quickly these things can happen. And in places that you would be absolutely trusting that they would be safe. Yeah. At a friend's house, on the playground. So it's so important to understand that you really can't control that. So the other choice is to prepare your child from a young age to normalize that conversation and to make it comfortable. Make it so that they will come to you and tell you. And so I think being proactive is better than being reactive. And I believe that children then have a real choice, right? If they're caught off guard and their curiosity takes over and they've never been given a heads up or a warning or a plan, anything like that, then, it's hard to blame them for getting pulled in. We are biological beings, and nudity is something that is very interesting to our brains. So, and there's a good side to that, obviously, but pornography, takes all of that and counterfeits it and makes it very easy to pull kids in. So they need a heads up. They need a plan. I understand why people think, it'll make them more curious. The truth is that you cannot make your kid more curious than the world is already making your child curious. There's so much sexual stimuli out there. There's so many sexual cues. There's so much sexualized material and they're kids at school. Even if you homeschool, this family that, that basically started my mission here, was a homeschooling family. And, so it just can get anyone, anywhere. And, that's why I believe the best choice is for them to be curious with you by their side.
Yes.
And explaining the problems and explaining, the downsides and the harms that pornography can do to their brains and how they can keep themselves happy and healthy and free from that kind of a trap. So, I understand the curiosity. They will be curious.
Yes.
I don't think any parent can make them more curious than the world is already making them.
Great. It's a great reminder.
Mm-hmm.
How would you say conversations about pornography change as kids get older and learn about sex?
Yeah. So definitely the good pictures, bad pictures can be read to kids that don't have any idea about sex. So we handle it very carefully. But as they get older, you can talk about, well, what is healthy sex? And what are the components that make you more likely to experience, sexual intimacy and the joy of that? And it's the opposite of what pornography teaches. So where true, intimacy is based on love and respect and commitment. And it brings people together, it bonds two people together. And it's, very, like I said, respectful, it's healthy. You have healthy amounts of dopamine. You have healthy amounts of, all of those brain chemicals flowing in your brain during sex, during healthy sex. But pornography is the exact opposite. And it's disrespectful. It leads to addiction. So there's a whole host of, and we have a great article on Defend Young Minds about those two opposite things. And I think that as they get older, you can share with them about the best way to experience sex and how pornography is just a cheap counterfeit that will be addicting and a trap and completely opposite. So the other thing you can talk to children as they get older and they're teens, you can talk about how pornography can lead them to sexual dysfunction,
Yes.
which is absolutely a thing. And it can, so it's called porn-induced erectile dysfunction. Another thing you can talk to them is about the link between pornography and sex trafficking.
Yes.
And how those two are very closely tied with people that are performing in pornography often are trafficked. And they're doing it against their will. It's not consensual. And there's just a whole range of other kinds of conversations that you can have about the problems with pornography. Every click is really contributing to sex trafficking when you see how closely they're linked. The other thing you can talk to them about is, and I think every parent should know about, child on child harmful sexual behavior and how it's absolutely driven by pornography. So
Yes.
all of these things, educating them as they grow up so that they have a stronger defense against it, is what I recommend.
And now we're going to take a little break to hear from one of our sponsors who makes this podcast possible. So when that ice storm hit Nashville, I packed up and headed to the lake in Kentucky with my family. We thought we'd be there for a cozy weekend, and then it turned into a full week snowcation.
I saw those pictures, sledding, snow walks, and I swear I even spotted you cooking in a hat and gloves.
True, but the food was amazing, all thanks to my Our Place 4-piece cookware set in Char. Every single meal looked like it belonged in a cooking show.
Of course it did. That cookware is beautiful. And the best part, it's non-toxic and high performance. None of those forever chemicals hiding in traditional nonstick pans.
Exactly. It's toxin-free, cooks evenly, and is so easy to clean, which when you're cooking 3 meals a day for a house full of people matters. Aaron made his famous biscuits and gravy in the Always Pan and Perfect pot.
You probably had the fanciest snow week in Kentucky.
That cookware elevates every meal experience.
Stop cooking with toxic cookware and upgrade to Our Place today. Visit FromOurPlace.com/RBG and use code RBG for 10% off site-wide.
With a 100-day risk-free trial, free shipping and returns, you can experience this game-changing cookware with zero risk.
Sissy, it's a brand new year, and I'm thinking about ways to prioritize health and moving my body.
I have a built-in system for moving my body more. Her name is Patches, and she demands multiple walks a day, even when it's 30 degrees outside. My other health hack lets me stay indoors, helps me feel better, more energy, better focus, just more me. It's called Creatone by Brickhouse Nutrition.
Yes, I've heard about that. It's clinically studied, right?
It is. It was created by doctors specifically for women, and it's all about improving energy, focus, and output without that crash or burnout you get from other stuff.
Creatone is radically different than guys' creatine.
That's what I love. You can actually feel the difference. More steady energy, clearer focus, and it mixes so easily. None of that chalky, gritty mess you get with other powders.
Stir it in water or a smoothie and you are good to go. It's about supporting your body so you can keep up with real life.
Let's get you started with 20% off your first order. Visit tonetoday.com and use our code RBG for your discount.
Again, use our code RBG to save 20% at tonetoday.com.
And now back to our show. Will you talk about what are some of the most common ways that kids find pornography and maybe also some surprising portals there also?
Yes. Well, we just did an article about this, and there are surprising portals. I think first of all, how do kids get into this? Most kids young children are not seeking out pornography.
Yeah.
They come across it because pornography and the porn industry is predatory. They're looking to hook kids. So kids will show each other pornography. For example, one mom talks about her 9-year-old son who went to school and, a friend had a phone and showed him pornography. And thankfully, she'd read him Good Pictures, Bad Pictures, and he came home and he said, I was scared, but I knew what to do. So other kids with phones, social media has so much pornography. And they all say, well, we have these community guidelines, blah, blah, blah. They have so much porn on all of these social media outlets, especially X. We know that Snapchat was, created to, so the kids can share nudes. I mean, so those are kinds of the things that, it's not just going to a porn site. There's porn like everywhere on social media. The other portals would be, for example, your music apps, Spotify and others, because they have all kinds of very inappropriate thumbnails for the music, but they're also podcasts that are very sexualized, whether it's erotica, whether it's kind of a how-to. There are all kinds of podcasts that kids can listen to. And another portal would just be the library. Their public library. They may have books, graphic novels that are very graphic, very graphic. So there are a lot of portals to porn, so many, and that parents don't know. So it's important for parents to understand, but it's also important for them to help their child build this internal filter that will go with them wherever they are and whatever they see.
Yeah, that's such a great way to describe it.
Kristen, we sit with parents every day who feel overwhelmed by technology and, how to tackle the tech. And what are some simple strategies parents can use to make devices more safe for kids?
Well, first I would really just off the top say devices for kids. First of all, I would say number one is don't give your child a device. Have it be a family device that they can access. So give them the gift of access, not the gift of a device, because there's a different psychology there, right? So if they're given access, it's your rules that they need to. So that's the first thing I would say. And even if you've given them, You could probably clarify that and say, yes, I know you got this for Christmas, but it's actually, Mom, it's actually our device that we, are just letting you use because we're paying the monthly fee, whatever, right? And we're liable, like parents are liable for what happens with that device. But as far as like the device, there's levels here. So for example, you can get a Wi-Fi router that will filter the Wi-Fi. That you can, put various kinds of restrictions on. One of the routers that we recommend is Griffin, but there are others out there. So that's one level. And then coming down to the device level, you want to look at the parental controls that they may have. And also then kind of like the app level. The thing that you could put, like, for example, you can put something called Canopy on a phone and a computer, and it will use AI to blur out any nudity instead of just like kind of like blacklisting the whole website. So if there's a travel website that you want to have available, but there is a picture on it of a nude beach, then it'll blur that one out, right? So Canopy is another kind of another product that we recommend. The other thing is you got to understand the difference between websites and apps. Apps are individual little, programs that most filtering cannot follow a child into that app. So once it can only block the app entirely. Once your child is in an app, there are backdoors out to the internet. So you think, oh, well, this device doesn't have a browser, but it does have this one app, like an art app or something. It's amazing how these kids can find a way out the back door to the internet.
Yeah.
I saw a little video one time. This is like years old. Like, this isn't new. But a kid was going through an art app showing his mom, and he took like 17 different steps to get out to YouTube.
Wow.
From this app. So a caution about apps. There's filters, but again, apps, very difficult to filter unless you just block them entirely. And we have some guides on our website, articles. We have a whole category of articles called Tackle the Tech, where we give you a lot of great information about this topic, which is overwhelming. But if you take it step by step, and realize this is just kind of guardrails, right? Mm-hmm. It's not going to keep your kid completely safe. They have to also have an internal filter as well.
That is so helpful. And we will certainly link to the website on our show notes. So we'll make a note and make sure we do that. You mentioned something that I'd love to circle back to, which is AI. Will you talk about your concerns right now for AI and kids? And as we're all I feel like we're always behind the 8 ball. And for parents who are listening and think, I don't even know that much about it yet, and I feel panicked, what would you say to those parents too?
Yes. Okay. So AI is here to stay. It's everywhere. And there are a lot of wonderful things that AI is doing. So it's a technology that is going to be changing the world. The thing I worry most about for children is there are 2 things really. One is AI companions. Treating ChatGPT like your best friend or whatever other, there was a phone company that made safer phones. And they had decided maybe a year or 2 ago that they were going to have an AI companion associated with the phone. And I basically said, well, then we're not going to support you anymore because I just cannot, I get it. Oh, it's going to say nice things, good things, positive things parents would say. It's like, that's the problem. You're replacing the parent. like, no. So I really am concerned, and I would be very, very careful about any product that presents itself as a safe AI product for kids. I just don't think we're there yet at all. I think it's very difficult for AI companies to control what AI is doing. And we've seen a lot of problems, where they put an AI in a Furby or, a doll.
I've seen so many of those.
know,
Yes.
I would totally stay away from that. Because you want your child relating with real people.
Yes.
That can have feelings for your child and that can have wisdom and that can truly be a friend. We don't want our children to even go down that road of thinking that, because so many of these things get sexual. That's the problem too, especially if the child brings up something they heard. And then now the AI is teaching them all kinds of things that they shouldn't be taught. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is it's so easy now for kids to take pictures of other kids and make AI porn. So it's called generative AI, and it generates porn from, you get a certain number of pictures and away it goes. And then there are things called nudify apps. And you may have heard that, Grok, which is a AI made by Elon Musk, has this feature, and he put it on X, where you could just press a button and it would nudify the person in the picture. So there are these apps all over. Kids can get them easily. And basically it just takes a picture of a person. You take any picture and it will, undress them. So that's the kind of thing where I feel like we need to start talking to our children from a young age, that we respect other people's bodies, our own bodies, and we don't objectify them.
Yes.
So those are my two big worries. I'm sure there's a lot more I could come up with, but those are my two big ones: the AI companions and the way that it's so easy for, kids to just create their own porn using AI, generative AI.
Thank you.
And, Sam Altman with ChatGPT, he was holding back on that. Oh, we're going to take the high road, right? Till everyone else did it. And then he says, you know what? We're going to allow people to have their free expression and whatever. And he just took that guardrail off. So now ChatGPT and all those things can be used for creating pornography. So it's just you don't even have to go and find it on social media or find it. You could just, it's just, that's why you have to teach your children the problems with pornography at the root of it, right? How objectifying it is and dehumanizing it is, and how it tells lies about sex. So those are the things we need to teach children, because we literally cannot keep them, unless we're putting them in the basement with nothing, and that would be child abuse. So can't do that.
Yes.
Kristen, you have some specific content for girls and boys. Will you talk a little bit about that content?
Yeah, so we have several articles on Defend Young Minds for girls, but also come up with a new book right here. It's coming out soon, called Good Pictures, Bad Pictures Guide for Girls: How I Stay Safe, Smart, and Confident. Because pornography really does eat away at the confidence of girls, and it's very unsafe for them. Many parents feel like, well, I just have daughters. My daughters are okay. They won't be interested. Newsflash, girls are actually just as curious about sex as boys. They just have been taught culturally that they're not supposed to be. So there is a difference, but girls, unfortunately, are often left vulnerable because we think it's a boy problem. not a girl problem. Well, it's a human problem. And so, we have some very good resources for parents who have girls, or grandparents who have granddaughters, or aunts and uncles who have nieces, or teachers with, students, just very important that we don't overlook teaching our girls the harms of pornography, and because it really does teach girls that their only value is how they look. Their only value are their body parts. And that can lead to some pretty, no wonder, we've had this huge upswing in suicides among girls. And also just self-esteem, just, bottoming out.
Yes.
So,
Yes, I'm so glad you're doing that, because having counseled girls for a long time, girls are certainly exploring pornography, as you said, and finding their way to it. And I think because we often do a great job preparing boys talking about it, I think there's even more shame in girls in admitting it.
Yeah.
It is, as therapists, we'll have families bring their daughters who've encountered something, and it is so hard to get a girl to talk about it in a counseling office.
Yeah.
And I know it is boys too, but I think it's important, and I'm so grateful you have that book coming out. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, we have also, as I kind of mentioned, and you mentioned the link here, but we've seen a significant rise in sexual exploration in younger children. And we would love for you to talk more about how pornography fuels that for kids.
Yeah. Well, kids are imitative, as you know. Their brains are wired for imitation. And anyone who has children totally sees this. Their children imitate. They want to imitate their parents. They want to have a little play vacuum cleaner, right? And they want to have a little play, kitchen set, or a little play, tools, and a lawnmower and all the things, right? Because children have an abundance of what we call mirror neurons. And mirror neurons help a child to, in part, help a child to imitate what they see adults do. So what happens when a child is exposed to pornography? What happens when they see this kind of behavior? It is not a stretch for us to imagine that some of those children will be kind of driven to imitate what they see. And then that becomes a problem, because who are they going to imitate it on? It's going to be younger, more vulnerable children. And this has been going on for a while. I've been writing about this for probably 10 years. And we had a woman come to us who said, look, when I was a kid, my neighbor showed me videos online, and they were kind of like wild college parties with lots of nudity, and it kind of led her into pornography. And then it led her as a child to start acting out sexually on her cousins when she would get together with her cousins. And she was finally caught. Her parents were shocked. Therapist was brought in. They were obviously looking for a hands-on or a direct, perpetrator. Couldn't find anything. Couldn't find anybody. And she told us, she said, they never thought to ask about pornography. And so pornography is fueling this child-on-child, harmful sexual behavior, problematic sexual behavior. And it is just skyrocketing. You ask any therapist or any child advocacy center worker, professional, they have seen it coming for years. I've got a lot of stories around this. One mom came to me and told me that this one summer she was watching a neighbor boy. And he was like, oh, how old was he? Maybe 10. And he was friends with our kids. And the mother was a single mom. She had to work. So she agreed to go ahead and watch this boy. Everything was going fine for weeks and weeks for the first month. And then all of a sudden, he takes the her 7-year-old, into the bathroom, starts trying to do sexual things with the girl.
Mm.
She had been prepared. So she got out of that situation, told her mom, but, and then the mom called the boy's mom, and she broke down crying and said, 3 weeks ago, I found porn on the iPad, all kinds of porn on the iPad that he was using. So, I don't have a specific time frame, but 3 weeks prior, his mom had found porn, and now he's acting out. That doesn't surprise me.
Mm-hmm.
So I have, and even I heard of a 3-year-old who started making videos of herself, 3 years old. Videos of herself trying to have sex with the family pet. And when they found these videos, they were absolutely shocked, tried to find out who was perpetrating on her, couldn't find anything. And in the end, they concluded that, that she was watching bestiality and porn was the perpetrator. So porn is perpetrator on these kids, and then they are perpetrating on other children. And it's not fun to talk about this. It's not fun to hear about it. Yeah. But if we're going to protect our children and defend them from this evil, we're going to need to talk to them and prepare them that not only do they not look at pornography, but they never act out sexually, touch another child's private parts, or take pictures of their own private parts, and share it with others. That conversation, unfortunately, needs to start really pretty young. And in the junior book, we have a whole section at the back, the five different rules, in which we talk about never let, if somebody else tries to take a picture of you without clothes on, you report it to your trusted adult, and never take a picture of yourself, and never give, it's sad that we have to teach our young children this, but it's so important.
Yes.
It is so important, and I'm grateful you're willing to talk with us about it. And now a quick break to hear from one of our incredible sponsors who make the podcast available.
David, can we talk about New Year's resolutions for a second? Because mine usually lasts about 3 days.
Oh, you're doing better than me. I once set a resolution to stretch every morning and made it exactly one morning.
Same. But you know what? This year I'm focusing on habits that actually stick, like better nutrition for myself and my sweet nephews. Kids everywhere are growing up surrounded by ultra-processed everything, and it's tough to find real nutrition.
Totally. That's why I love Hiya. It's such an easy win for parents. Clean vitamins made with 12 organic fruits and veggies and 15 essential vitamins and minerals, all without the sugar and gummy junk that most other vitamins sneak in.
My nephews actually love them. They had the best time decorating their bottles with the stickers that come in the first order, and now they remember to take their vitamins every morning without a fight. That's the real miracle.
That is parenting gold. And you know what else is genius? Hiya's Kids Daily Greens Plus Superfoods. Over 55 whole food ingredients that kids drink like it's a treat.
Exactly. One scoop with milk or almond milk, and boom. Nutrients, protein, and no complaints. If only we could bottle that level of cooperation for all of parenting.
We can make this easier.
We've worked out a special deal with Hiya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Receive 50% off your first order. To claim this deal, you must go to hiyahealth.com/RBG. This deal is not available on their regular website.
Go to hiyahealth.com/RBG and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults. And now back to the show. Another important conversation is addiction. And you do an extraordinary job of just talking about how pornography can become an addiction and mimic the very ways the brain is altered through addiction with substances. And Your work is incredible in this space and how you explain that to kids. Will you just talk for a minute about how you recommend parents talk with kids about that?
Yeah. So when I wrote Good Pictures, Bad Pictures, Porn Proofing Today's Young Kids, I felt like the most concrete, because kids are concrete, right? They're not getting the nuance of things until they're much older. And so I wanted to try to find something concrete and really how addiction affects the brain and how addictions are created in the brain and how bad pictures can become an addiction. I felt like was something children need to know, not only because pornography is so available, but other addictive substances and behaviors are out there that we live in just this society that is just awash with dopamine pushing activities, and pornography is just one of them, really. But it's the one that, like, we don't let kids go to the corner store anymore and buy cigarettes like when I was a kid. That's probably going to age me, but yeah, we don't let kids do that anymore. But pretty much any 8-year-old on a device could find porn really easily. So it is the one addiction that I believe that kids are most vulnerable to. So why not teach them the whole addiction process? And what I find is that parents will say, "Oh, I didn't know that. Like, I learned something." Like, so, and I certainly did in writing the book. So it's really important that we learn how addictions are formed and how to avoid them.
Thank you for including that. I keep listening to you thinking, I want every parent that we interact with to listen to this episode and to get your books. Okay, so for the parent whose child is exposed, what do you suggest they do next?
Well, we have, the first thing is to stay calm. I have an acronym called SMART, and the first letter, S, is stay calm. Now, first you really have to get calm, but G didn't work in this. So get calm and stay calm. And if you go to Defend Young Minds, to our guides page, we have a guide that is actually our thickest guide. And it has all kinds of help. It's called My Kids Saw Porn, Now What? So the first step in a SMART plan, and there's all these articles written by therapists like you and others who help you answer these questions that will come up. But the first thing is stay calm, because you need to take time to deal with your own emotions before you can't just vomit them on your kid. That's not going to be helpful, and it's not going to get you where you want to go, which is an open and honest, trusting conversation, a relationship. So stay calm. I remember a friend called me up just sobbing. I couldn't even understand her. I didn't know what the problem was. I finally said, "Do you want me to come over?" And she goes, "Yes." And so I went over to her house, found her. She didn't even come to the door. I had to go into the door was unlocked, find her in her master bathroom, just absolutely sobbing. I thought, did someone die? Did your husband ask for a divorce? What is going on? No, her 14-year-old, she found the iPad with the porn. And her first reaction after she'd stopped crying was to go to the school, grab that kid, shake him, start interrogating. And I said, you can take 24 hours to calm down. You can take 48 hours. You can take 72 hours to calm down. Get yourself calm. Talk to friends, talk to your husband, talk to your wife, whatever, but calm down. Then make a plan. So that's M, make a plan. And part of this plan needs to be the kinds of questions you want answered. And we have a list of questions that are helpful, but you don't want it to be, an interrogation, with the lights and, 2 hours in a bare room, right? You want it to be drip, 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 Okay, we're going to have a conversation. And then, okay, we're going to continue this conversation at a later time. And you just remain calm, but you get your questions answered. And as you stay calm, they're going to trust you more, that you aren't exploding all over them. And then A means, assess the different kinds of feelings, assess what they've seen. And so there's R is like regularly talk about it, and T is train your kids on technology so they're safe. So all of these things are important to do. And then, as you may want to bring in a therapist. And so we have an article about, how do you know when a therapist is important to bring in? And there's all kinds of questions like, should you ask your child to describe what they've seen? Or is that just going to make it worse? So we have an article on that in this guide. So that's one thing that we can offer. But I would say the main thing is to remember that porn is the enemy. It's not, your child is not the enemy, right? Porn is the enemy. And you love your child. Most kids are going to see pornography. Most kids are going to have to make that choice. And they will probably, and even if they've kind of become pulled into it, they're going to need a loving parent to help them. Yes. Obviously, they're going to have to do the work themselves, but they're going to need that relationship to help them.
You have confirmed throughout this conversation why we've trusted your voice and your resources for so many years. Yes. And we're just so thankful you would talk at length with us about this important topic. So we love to close by asking you, where could folks find all the incredible resources you've created?
Yeah, so you can hop on over to defendyoungminds.com. And you can also find us on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, X, LinkedIn, all the places. And we really try to produce a lot of content that is helpful for parents, whether it's helping them tackle the tech, warning them about, for example, we have a recent post about the term gooning. And kids are using this term gooning. So do parents know what this means? And really what it means is, and I hope this doesn't shock anyone, but masturbating to porn on it, for hours. Okay. And, but if kids are talking about it, why aren't parents, right? Parents need to be talking about this because kids are talking about it. So yes, that's, we put out all kinds of content about that. And then, so yeah, get on our Defend Young Minds website. We have so many resources there, guides, all kinds of things about our books. We have a course called Brain Defense, articles. And yeah, we'd love to help anyone that we can help, any parents you're doing a very courageous thing raising children in this age. And so I just want to commend all the parents that are listening to this. Yay for you. Because you're basically, you're having the courage to, tackle this head on, to face this head on. So your kids, won't have to do it alone. And that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful gift.
And a great reminder.
Yes. Well, thank you for the gift of your time and your wisdom. And it has been a delight to meet you. And we will continue to shout from the rooftops about your good work. So Indeed. Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you so much, Sissy and David. Thank you.
David, what a team we have that we get to call friends who help make this podcast possible. Chris Starrett, our engineer.
Our management team at KCH.
And we are thrilled to be a part of the That Sounds Fun network.
Our music was created by the insanely talented Dave Haywood of Lady A.
And if this podcast felt helpful to you, please consider subscribing, liking, sharing, all the things.
We are grateful for you and cheering you on always.